Good evening. Today we're going to learn how to refill pods from a Stlth vape. First of all, you're going to need a few ingredients offhand. One is a toothpick. The other two is a rigging knife. Sturdy knife with a sharp edge. And the third ingredient will be your refillable juice. Today we're using Nirvana Illusions, which is a 6 milligram nicotine base, because my friend Yannick didn't leave me any juice, so I'm gonna give him whatever the fuck I have. So, step number one, you always have to clean your pod. This is a pod that we buy from a 3-pack, which is 17 bucks. So if you don't suck on them too much, if you have at least 1/4 left here, off the flat end of the black part, you should be okay depending on your coil status, which we will determine once we open it. So step number one to opening a pod that's made by Stlth is you got to make sure it's all dry, no oil base left on your finger, so you don't slip and slice your half finger. So as we see, you hold it upside down so all the leftover juice falls into the white part. Usually I leave it upside down for at least 5 minutes so all the juice goes down so you don't waste anything. The most important part is to try to get your knife under the plastic part, which is clear, and the black base magnets. So as you see, you try to get it like you're peeling an apple. You try to get it underneath, applying a little pressure and uplifting a corner at a time. So we just did this corner. Now we're gonna go for this corner. So as we see, we're going upwards. And as you can see, it already has separated. So once it's separated from both sides, you can go slowly on the middle and pull it upwards until it slowly comes out. Might take a while, but the important thing is you don't damage the surface because there is a seal inside and you don't want to damage it. So I'm halfway there. So once it's out, this part, you keep it upright so nothing spills out. So then you're left with the black zone, which is the base, which has your coil and your, I call it stuffing, but it's actually a kind of like a, in French on dit ouate, so I guess in English it'll be like a, kind of like an absorbent material that holds the oil. Inside the black part, you have this little diaphragm, which is plastic or rubber, which acts as a seal when you're activating the vape. So this seal must come out. So you examine your coil and your filters. So this part goes out. You flatten it out on the paper towel that you have ready, and then you examine your pod. Yannick, I see that you've been sucking on this very fucking hard, so right away your coil is burnt. But the trick to do is with your toothpick is you give a little shots on the sides to try to moisten up the wick. That's the word I was looking for. Un ouate, chérie, c'est un wick en anglais. Merci. And inside of here, as you can see, you see little dark deposits on the coil, which means it's indication that it has overheated, which means you're sucking too hard, Yannick. You gotta stop sucking on that thing, bro. So a trick that I usually found is I just poke a couple of times and I try to turn the wick inside its little area here. And at the same time, I just try to rub some of that crud off. It's not always going to be successful, but you might have 1 out of 3 a successful pod with a refilled substance. So as I'm cleaning this off here, I noticed that it had gotten a little bit clearer, but not that clear. As you can see on the paper here, I'm taking some residue off. So what we want to do is you want to wet that part right away with the new juice. So you 1 or 2 drops on the coil. All right. So that would moisten everything up. And then once the coil is done, you just top a little bit off, maybe 1 or 2 extra drops for good measure. And then you're ready for the application of the diaphragm. The diaphragm has to be inserted the same way it was taken out, which means there's a lip and there's a body. So the lip gust has to go up. So you put it in the middle, and then with your finger you slightly press it in, make it all level. And as it's all level, you can clean it up with a toothpick and actually stab a few times inside the coil here to try to make some juice go into the wick. And then you have it. That's your base part. As for the reservoir, as you can see, all the juice has fallen into the white part. So you don't want to ever fill this up to the tip of the, I call it the breather, which is the middle part. This is where your vape will be coming from once you're vaping. So you don't want to throw it in the middle, you want to throw it on the side. So I suggest every time you're filling up, I say refilling up a pod that's made from the company Stlth, you don't have 2 lives, you have 1 life and a half. So I would fill it up to the half part of the reservoir. As I'm doing right now, gently putting the juice to the sides, always to the sides. And as you can see, the liquid fill up. You don't want to fill it up too much because it is your second life of a pod. So I would say half the wick, not the wick, but half the reservoir in the middle would be a good indication that you have enough. So once that's done, what you want to do is you want to try to take away most of the oil from the inside so your reservoir will stick and not come off automatically. Usually you can use a Q-tip, but I think a paper towel is just fine. So you try to take up as much moisture as you can from the oil. So as soon as this is dry and that's dry, you're ready for the insertion again. Now as you can see, there's 3 sections, 3 seals. So with a thumb press and a punch, there you have it. A little wipe. And for good measure, you can give it a little tap down for the best seal possible. I usually tap it once or 3 times. Wipe it again. And there you have your refilled Stlth pod. Now they recommend for you to shake it up and down once in a while to mix the juice from your new fill to the one you had there before. So you mix it up and down. Let it set for minimum 5 minutes. And you should be able to go for another day or 2. That was Steve for Stlth Refill. Fuck you.